Good day, everybody. Craig Jalbert here. I'm at 3M Automotive Aftermarket. I'm the division leader for Canada. And it's just been a fabulous team that we've had here on CCIF. And we had the advantage of doing this very relevant topic of talent management strategies. And we brought together some pillars that we're going to focus on for the industry. And we brought together this packet that we're going to share with you today. Just a high level, looking at different points of view, we got the owner and manager and some questions that came about. If you look at the owner and manager, how do I retain employees? What does a proper performance program look like? How do I develop my employees throughout my organization? What does it cost me to hire and replace? And does a mentor program work? And these are just some of the questions we found relevant from their standpoint. And then looking at the different other spectrum, if you look at an employee, how am I doing as an employee in my current job? When do I get feedback and where do I get feedback? Do I have an opportunity to move up across my organization? And can I have a mentor? And lastly, where is my development plan? So these are some of these questions we can see from the different perspectives of inside an organization that we addressed today throughout this packet. Just at a high level, looking at some industry stats, there's about 40,000 employees across Canada in the industry. And looking at a growth perspective, we got annualized growth within the employment about 3% over the last 5 years. Looking at employee turnover and replacement, it's very challenging to measure. You know, when we look at these overall, you look at body shop business, they have about an average about $5,000 for an employee for recruiting, interviewing, hiring, and training a new employee or a new recruit to the organization. And this varies across organizations and across business, but on average, it's about $5,000 a week in lost revenue for a lost employee throughout that. Which is alarming to me is the last stat there, 44% of shops currently have a process in place, 43% just rely on intuition, and 13% have nothing at all today. So we want to make sure we're addressing these questions because the two main buckets that we look at, cost and labor, these are the obstacles and concerns. So we're looking at for the questions we're going to outline here today, what are the aspects of successful retention program? How does a business owner create a development plan for an employee? What does a successful mentoring plan look like? How do we provide a strong performance review, including productive feedback for an employee? And then lastly, identifying the strengths and areas of development for an employee. Before I hand it off here, you can see the pillars that we're looking at overall. I covered the stats earlier, and then the pillars we're going to carry out throughout this packet here. Number one, career development roadmap. You know, that's high on everybody's bucket list. What does that look like? Second, the employee performance evaluation program. And then last, but certainly not least, how do we look at a mentoring and coaching strategies? And I do love this quote. You know, we use it across different businesses we see here. You don't build a business, you build people, and then the people build the business. So I'm going to pass it off to Anita, and she'll cover the career development roadmapping.
Thank you so much, Craig. My name is Anita Zeitler. I'm with Wawanesa Insurance. I'm pleased to be a member of the CCIF subcommittee for recruiting and retention, and glad to share with you some of this information we have today. Looking at a career development roadmap, one of the largest contributors to employee dissatisfaction and a significant contributor to attrition is that employees don't often have a clear understanding of the expectation of their role, their employer, and what their career path is available to them. Next slide, please, Craig. Employees often have questions around how well they are doing in their role. Are they achieving the expectations of their leader and their company, and are those expectations aligned? How do they know if they're progressing towards or achieving their goals? And are there opportunities for them to expand their knowledge, grow with the company, or carve out a true career path? And this is where employee reviews can help. Without timely, meaningful performance evaluations, it can be very difficult for an employee to improve, excel, and remain engaged in their organization. Performance evaluations allow for overall assessment that helps people to prioritize their goals and the skills that they'd like to develop. Employees learn what their key strengths are and where they should focus their development efforts. Evaluations also serve as a function that ensures that tough feedback is delivered rather than avoided, which can lead to disgruntled employees and often HR challenges for the employer. But performance reviews don't have to be daunting and uncomfortable. The following are some high-level tips that can help improve or implement an employee performance program within your company. Documentation and plan and expectations. This is key to memorialize and get an agreement so that everyone understands what the plans are and what the expectations. It doesn't need to be formal. You can use some high-level bullet points that are really effective in capturing the essence of the conversation. Meet regularly. Timely feedback is key. It can be challenging to improve or continue desired behaviors if the timeliness of your feedback is lengthy. Having regular meetings ensures alignment with yourself and your employees and offers an opportunity to clarify if there's any misunderstanding. Conversation is key. Talk. Keep it clear and informal. Use notes if you need to help keep your thoughts clear if needed. Goals. What gets measured gets done. Keep number of goals minimum, 2 to 3 absolute max, and make sure they're achievable and time-bound. Refer to the SMART acronym for further details on that. Feedback. Soliciting feedback from others is a great way for an employee to understand their impact. Feedback can be from several different people, not always their direct leaders. It can be colleagues or other individuals, other individuals that your employees interact with on a regular basis. Sharing the performance review format in advance. This will allow the employee to prepare themselves in advance and ask any clarifying questions. It also allows the employer an opportunity to set expectations of the conversation, like making sure that they come prepared and ensure that the time is used wisely. And lastly, discuss positive components and areas for opportunity and growth. Talk about what's going right, what's going well, focusing on the positive behaviors that are contributing to that employee's performance. Highlight them, celebrate them, and foster the actions that are serving the employee and the employer well. It's also very important to outline areas of opportunity for improvement, as this will be giving some additional insights to the employee about their impact. An example will be, by ensuring you're quality checking your work before you hand it off, the number of duplicate work will greatly reduce. By having meaningful, timely conversations with your employees about their performance and their evaluations, the employee and employer can reap the benefits of improved performance, skill development, and employee engagement. Next slide, please. An offshoot of performance reviews is the creation of a development plan for your employees. By having clear goals stemming from your performance reviews, employees and employers can now work together to create a development plan that provides a roadmap and helps support the achievement of those goals. It's really important that we focus a majority of that effort on the job experience, providing that employee with hands-on opportunity to put their skills into practice, meeting new and challenging experiences, perhaps working with new technology, and developing those skills that were identified as part of the performance evaluation. Mentoring and coaching is also critical by creating social learning experiences and guiding through those. Expanding their network and their development will help employees. Just by having conversations with some of their peers, they'll be able to pick up new ideas, tips, and tricks on how they can further develop their skills. And then lastly, 10% around formal education, structured courses and programs. This is the smallest contributor to employees' development, but also an important one. And it's important that you work together to clearly identify, again, through those goals, what those learning opportunities that will help support the ultimate achievement. And with that, I will kick it off to Paul Perkillo.
Thank you very much, Anita. So I'm going to take some of the amazing information Anita just provided and use it as a stepping stone to discuss, how do we execute an employee performance evaluation? Now, before we get into some of the tactics, I just want to add to some statistics that will really help your collision repair operator understand the investment that's required and the payoff. So some of the investments required, and none of these are monetary value. The first is a paradigm change. Many collision repairers, have the mindset evaluations take too long, or I don't know if I can even complete one. Time is another paradigm, but what the question we need to ask ourselves is not can you afford to, but can you afford not to conduct employee evaluations, performance evaluations with your employees? So that's just a little bit of some of the investment. The benefits are improved overall performance. And I think Anita spoke to that clearly, but identifying where your employees need to enhance or have opportunities for enhancement and working with them to develop a plan. Second is increasing of the increased employee engagement that will take part. In today's very hard labor market, when flexibility, benefits, pay scale are all equal, the great differentiator is the ability to have a performance plan put in place so that shows you're investing in your employees' future. And lastly, we'll just close it out by identifying prospective training needs for your current employees and really strengthening the relationship and the loyalty with your employees because of the investment you're making in them to enhance not only their performance, but their career development. So now that we've covered over some of the investment and benefits, Craig, we'll get to the next slide and we'll start talking right away about some of the mechanics of conducting a performance rating or evaluation. And first is the rating scale. So we're going to rank from 1 to 4, either outstanding performance all the way down, as you can see, to level 4, where an employee needs improvement. Okay. And these are going to be very important for us to quantify, to identify, so we can couple this with the next slide we're about to see, because not only do we want to see the current performance rating scale, but Craig will bring us to the next slide and we'll identify we're also assessing leadership readiness. This is important to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're looking to grow, if you're looking to exit, or maybe you just want to stay in the place that you are. We need to ensure that we're identifying who future leaders can be in our organization. And we're all leaders, right? Leadership is not a position, it's a mindset, right? But what you want to identify within your organization is who are people that have the technical skills and the soft skills, the mindset to take a step up in your organization and help you evolve. This is very, very critical. And I think you'll see it here on the next slide when we put it together into actually conducting a performance evaluation. So here we are, and this is a blueprint for your performance evaluation and your leadership readiness. So to our left column, we've got the employees' names. Beside that to the right, their title. And then we're going to evaluate what their performance rating is. Now, I do want to say that performance ratings shouldn't be a surprise. As Anita mentioned, you should be communicating frequently. You can have a formalized evaluation, maybe every quarter or biannually. Quarterly seems to work really, really well. But we should be having that informal discussion with employees. Did we see something on the floor today? Did we see something in the office? Was there something that transpired that we either need to call out as a positive or an opportunity for improvement? And then when we look at the leadership readiness, so we're looking at RN, referring to ready now, RF, ready in the future, ET, referring to emerging talent, or CL, which is current level. And that could refer to being an ace in his or her space. They're perfect in that role, and we just want to continue to support them to continue to execute in that role. And then we can start to map out future roles for this prospective employee. And this is gonna really help us articulate and identify where we add resources. And then, of course, development opportunities, right? And you can read through here and see, these are just some samples, but you can see what type of verbiage may be considered in being added for development opportunities. So, Craig, if we can take it to the next slide. The 9-box performance grid now assumes we have completed our full performance evaluation and leadership readiness. Now, at this point, we want to start plotting people's names into these boxes. So who has high potential with moderate performance, right? So that's training opportunities, maybe some upskilling. Who's high potential, high performer? Your stars. You really want to look after them. And your high performers. And we want to map them out, greens, the yellows, as you can see, you know, anywhere from a solid performer all the way up to a prospective or a potential gem. And then we've got the red players, those who are average or below average, maybe very inconsistent. And the reason why we want to map this out on each one of these color grids is because we have only so many resources to use. So this is going to help us dial in on who we're going to make those investments in. It's also going to help us determine the development plan. Very quick, simple, and easy with conditional formatting. Moving to the next slide. That covers our performance evaluation execution. And now I'm going to hand it over to Koos Reineken to talk to us about mentorship and mentorship development.
Thanks, Paul. What an opportunity it is to get together like this. And this is a great quote from Bo Sanchez. Getting a mentor is the shortcut to success. As you can see with all the previous slides, there's a lot to kind of get your head around. And I think the difference is there a relational mentor that you can have to work your way through that. Next slide, please. The whole purpose, of course, with mentoring and coaching is to create a professional development of identified employees through counsel and experience of influential leaders in your organization. Every one of us needs a mentor. I remember starting as a young painter, 17 years old as an apprentice, and my mentor was my brother, which sometimes can be worked against you, but in this case, he really had patience with me to get started in the industry and to feel comfortable with messing up, to really help through that process makes all the difference. Later on, when we had our own shop, I remember getting a new employee, and again, my brother was the mentor. And the first car that this new employee had to paint was a Porsche, brand new Porsche 928. And he says to my brother, "What if I mess up?" He says, "Well, then we'll just redo it again." And that, I think, is the key to mentorship. It doesn't matter because we're all learning, and this is how it's safe to make mistakes and still be able to go on with that as well. Next slide, please, Craig. Now, there's a formal way of doing this. Obviously, as an apprentice, it usually works with journeyman side by side, and it works really well. So then it's an ongoing. But if it's in other positions like an estimator or a location manager, it can be more formalized. In my previous career at Axel Nobel, this is what's a program that we did and was very successful, that we would meet sometimes face-to-face, sometimes was by long distance phone calls as well, but with the whole purpose of creating that on-the-job experience, to learn from each other, to back and forth, to see what some of the things that really worked. And I really appreciated that program, and it really works well from a positive point of view to make sure that we can learn from each other. The opportunities that led, and I was a mentor to a younger manager, I really appreciated and learned a lot from that myself. And it's a great opportunity as a mentor to be part of the success. As you can well imagine, now more than ever, when we're struggling with people, struggling with retaining people, this is the opportunity as a mentor, especially for those that have been in the industry for a long time, to really make a difference in people's lives. This is where the best investment we can have, to create a culture where it's safe to grow, safe to fail, safe to be part of a team that is ongoing. And then to the final slide. I know there's been a lot on this short presentation. I hope that you get a bit of a template here that you can work with from a development point of view, from a performance evaluation, and then to close it off with a mentoring and coaching opportunity. This is a template that you can use, and we're hoping that more of this will follow within our CCF programs as well. Thanks and so much for your attention.